Hey, how's it going? Dylan here. Welcome to Bluray Addict. Today we're going to be having a look at my top 25 films of the year. So this year has been bloody fantastic for films in my opinion, and there's so many, which is why usually I do a top 10 of the year, but there was just so much that I really wanted to include in this video that I expanded it up to 20 and then 25, just because I saw a lot of really good films this year. I'm really proud of myself. I actually saw about, I watched 205 films total so far this year. Obviously there's a few days left, so I'll probably watch a few more. Of those 205, I watched 104 new releases. That's the films that have come out this year in Australia. So I'm extremely proud of the fact that 50% of the films I watched were new, which is insane for me. Last year I think it was more like 20 new releases or something like that. So really happy with that. But let's get right into it. Grab a cup of coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy. So first off, at number 25, we're going to go in reverse order here, obviously, to build up that suspension. We've got A Quiet Place, which I only actually saw 2 days ago. I finally grabbed the Blu-ray and sat down and had a watch, and I'm actually kind of disappointed I missed this at cinemas because it was actually really well made, short and sharp. Krasinski directs really well, and it's a pretty heartfelt film, really cool horror beats. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I think it's got some really nice cinematography, and you know I'm a sucker for good cinematography and sound design, so really surprised by that, to be honest. At number 24, we've got Lean on Pete, which I saw at Adelaide Film Festival earlier in the year. And this one I knew nothing about going in, absolutely nothing. I hadn't even watched a trailer for this beforehand. And it was surprisingly really good, really heartfelt, emotionally breaking story of this guy and this horse named Pete. So definitely check that out if you're into like emotional dramas. At number 23, something I also saw at Adelaide Film Festival, which was Addict, which is directed by Joe Pena, who obviously is Mr. Guitarman on YouTube, and it's about this character played by Mads Mikkelsen. He's almost the only character you see the whole film, and he's stranded out in the Arctic wilderness after crashing his plane. And it's a really fantastically structured film, very silent, hardly any speech, obviously, because he's alone. It's kind of just long, lingering shots of him trying to survive and then eventually having a purpose to try and get out of there. At number 22, we have Mandy, which obviously is going to be in this list. Mandy was, obviously is a pretty big sensation, lots of people loving it online, and like, you know, Nicolas Cage, it seems like he's finally found like that was a real good match for him, Panos, the director, and like the insane psychedelic visuals, the atmosphere, the score by Johan Johansson, his last score, is just, everything comes together to create this kind of hellscape, and it works just so bloody well. At number 21, we have Beast, which is a British film. I think in Britain it came out last year, but it came out earlier this year in Australia via Icon Films, and this one was another one I didn't know anything about beforehand. In fact, I put off watching the screener that was sent to me for quite a while, and then I was like, oh, better watch this. Within 5 minutes I was completely engrossed in the film. It has this kind of quality to it, and really unconventional story here, which kind of takes you not necessarily where you think it's going in the end. At number 20, we have Assassination Nation, which was a film I kept getting recommended to see for ages, but it didn't get a full release in Australia. Like, it's only screened certain places and etc, I'm pretty sure. But I finally got to see it the other day. I watched it on Prime Video US. Yeah, I sat down and watched that last week, I think, and it captivated me the whole time. That is a very, I can see why some people hate that film. It's very politically charged, but this was really good and really well acted. Had some really crazy visuals, like just kind of similar in parts in style to Mandy, but also incorporating kind of Spring Breakers vibes and stuff from a bunch of other films. It's a really cool little flick. At number 19, we have Corey Finley's Thoroughbreds, which I was really looking forward to. I imported it from the UK because we didn't get a Blu-ray release here in Australia, I don't think we even got a DVD release at all. But it is such a great film. Really cool cinematography. We've got obviously Olivia Cooke and Anya Taylor-Joy playing these two girls who plot to kill one of their stepdads, and it's just a really quirky film. Also has a really good performance by the late Anton Yelchin, who I was a really big fan of, tragic death and everything, but he is really good in this film. At number 18 we have Hereditary, which I did know a lot about beforehand, but I was still blindsided by how good this was. I went to a press screening here in Adelaide, and there was a bunch of people that won tickets and probably thought they were going to like the best jump scare fest modern horror film, but as they discovered, they definitely weren't in one of those. But that aside, Hereditary is utterly fantastic, an utterly fantastic example of the horror genre. Probably the best horror film of this year by far. Ari Aster's masterful kind of direction, especially in that third act, is insanity, and it's just such a joy to like be in a cinema, a crowd of people, and as you can see as each person discovers something hidden in the background of a shot, and it's just glorious, an absolute glorious experience. At number 17 we have 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri, which I'm a big fan of. Here in Australia it came out just after Christmas, I believe, so I'm counting it this year in this list. But yeah, really cool performance by Frances McDormand and Sam Rockwell. They killed it in this. It also has one of my favourite monologues of the year. At number 16 we have Leave No Trace, which was a film I saw again at Adelaide Film Festival, and it was one I knew a little bit about, but yeah, this film is really kind of beautiful. It's not stressful or anything. It's kind of exploring the relationship, obviously, between a young girl and her father, living out in nature where they're not exactly supposed to be, and like it's a really greatly constructed drama. At number 15 we have Black Mirror Bandersnatch. Now this literally came out last night, and I postponed doing this list for this reason, because I thought maybe it's going to get up there. And it definitely did. Bandersnatch is bloody amazing. I say amazing a lot, but this is on another level. It is so meta and self-referential. Obviously, if you don't know what it is, it's a choose your own adventure from Netflix under Black Mirror guys. But what a lot of people aren't realizing, I'm seeing on Twitter, is that it's much deeper than that. Now, how do I go into this without spoiling it? Bandersnatch at its core is something you will go into, and it's a choose your own adventure, obviously. You choose different options, it's a fun thing. It's all been done before. It becomes quickly apparent, though, that this is not all there is, and there's a much deeper meaning to it all, and that some stuff that you watch through the first time may not be about what it seems to be about. And once you play through again, try different options, you might realize something and come to a new conclusion about what the film is all about, because it was next level. I had a few group chats going on Twitter and they were exploding once we figured it out. This is like one of the most ambitious and crazy ideas that anyone's ever kind of done with this kind of gameplay / movie combination. And I highly recommend to go check it out, because it is a really wild ride. I recommend to play it through at least twice, fully, although you might not understand, but kind of playing it through, it does loop back on itself sometimes, so there's some really nice surprises in there. At number 14 we have Mission Impossible Fallout, which is by far the best action film of the year, full stop. It is absolute master of the craft by Christopher McQuarrie and Tom Cruise. Thom Yorke has a mesmerizing score, which I listen to all the time at work still. It is just really pulse pounding. I've watched it about 4 times this year, so it's really great stuff. If you haven't checked it out, go do it. At number 13, we have First Man, which is a really cool look at Neil Armstrong's spacefaring life, starting when he was a test pilot of the Air Force and going through to when he lands on the moon in Apollo 11. So this film has some really stark and kind of vivid cinematography, all mostly long lenses, hardly any wide shots except for the spacecraft launching. And it has a really retro feel. They filmed on 2perf film and a bunch of other formats to get that really nice feel. And it really looks the part. Really great performance by Gosling and Claire Foy, as well as the entire extended cast, all give in really good performances. Really enjoyed this one. Extremely emotionally challenging, which I didn't expect at all. At number 12, we have Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Now, I finally saw this a couple of weeks ago and utterly loved it. Saw it with my wife in gold class, nice little movie date, and it was so much better than I ever thought it could be. It was extremely enjoyable, likable, funny, had a really awesome art style, and just really, really well done. At number 11, we have Black Klansman, which obviously was a really fun time from Spike Lee. Really weird. John David Washington and Adam Driver just have perfect chemistry in this, and it's just a fun ride the whole time. And now we get to the top 10. So at number 10, we have Cargo, which was filmed here in my home state. Stars Martin Freeman, Natasha Wanganeen, and David Galupil. I always say his name wrong. But really awesome story, which was much more emotionally affecting than I assumed it would be, especially the ending. As a father as well, it will affect you more. Father or mother, if you have kids, it will affect you more, for sure. It's a beautiful film that I think more people should see. It's actually on Netflix, so you should go see it. At number 9, we have The Favourite, directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, which I probably screwed up the name. Anyway, The Favourite is spellbinding. I saw this the other day, finally, and it came out this week. And I've never seen a Yorgos film before. I've got The Lobster, but I haven't watched it, and Killing of a Sacred Deer isn't on Bluray in Australia, so I'm hoping to import it. But, so I'd had no idea on what kind of humour would be in this, what kind of everything, really. And from the get-go, within the first 5 minutes, I was assured that this ride was going to be worth it because, God, it was so funny. This dry humour, Rachel Weisz, Olivia Colman, Emma Stone give really cool performances. They have really good chemistry, and it's just utterly hilarious, most of this film. I highly recommend to go see it because it was such fun. I was in a theatre full of old people, and some of them did walk out, but it's a lot more vulgar than you think it will be if you aren't familiar with Yorgos. At number 8, we have Can You Ever Forgive Me, which I also saw at Adelaide Film Fest, as with some of the others. Obviously, Melissa McCarthy finally won me over. I've not liked pretty much any of her other movies. I wasn't a fan of her crass humour or anything like that, but this I was prepared to see, and it was really fun. Her, along with Richard E. Grant, give awesome performances in this. Like, they deserve all the Oscar buzz and awards buzz they can get because they are fantastic. Richard E. Grant's always fantastic, but Melissa McCarthy now has shown me that, this film assured me that she should do more serious roles, if so she chooses. Obviously, it's up to her. But she killed it in this. At number 7, we have Vice, directed by Adam McKay, which is proving very controversial at the moment on film Twitter and across the board. But this film, I must say, is utterly fantastic. There's that word again. And that's because Adam McKay has surpassed The Big Short easily, in my opinion, and it is somehow somehow hilarious and terrifying at the same time. It's very hard for movies to pull this off, as I said in my review for you last week, but this film is a film to see. It's going to be super divisive, like there's no tomorrow, but all of the actors give really amazing performances here. Christian Bale is almost unrecognisable as Genie. But yeah, go see Vice if you haven't. At number 6, we have Tully, which is a really cool film that kind of flew under the radar a bit. Not many people have been talking about it much. This is a really, really heartwarming story about motherhood. Charlize Theron and Mackenzie Davis are really good together. I'm a big fan of Davis and Theron. There's a twist in this film, but it is a twist that for a second is like, oh no, really? But then kind of warms your heart. It's an odd sensation, and it is a really good picture of parenthood. At number 5, we have First Reformed, which again I only saw recently, but I had to get it in before the end of the year because I kind of knew it could be up here this high. So it's earned its number 5 spot. Ethan Hawke. I'm a big fan of Ethan Hawke, and he does not disappoint in this role. He is above everything. And this film was a really interesting experience to watch. For the first half, I thought, what's happening? Well, first quarter, I was like, what's happening? It was quickly changed a little bit, got much more interesting, and it's a nice slow burn, but it pays off at the end. It requires a hell of a lot of thinking, for sure. At number 4, we have Shoplifters. It's just incredible. It's directed by Kurita, and this film is simple on the surface, and it's incredibly kind of dark by the end, and it's a really interesting portrait of family dynamic. I'm not going to say much more just to spoil a lot of it, but it is deeply affecting and really beautiful. At number 3, we have You Were Never Really Here, directed by Lynn Ramsey, starring Joaquin Phoenix. Now, this film is kind of in your face instantly, and boy does it not hold back. I went into this expecting violence, and that's the funny thing. A lot of people work this up saying it's a violent film. Now, it is a violent film, but not in the way you think. You hardly see almost any of the violence. Most of it's done off-screen, and to great effect. It actually enhances the effect of what's happening, in my opinion. Joaquin Phoenix gives his all as usual in this performance, and it's a really harrowing film with one of the most interesting endings of the year, for sure. At number 2, we have Alex Garland's Annihilation, which obviously debuted on Netflix over here in Australia. Yes, I'm disappointed I didn't get to see it on a big theatre screen, but that does not affect my ability to see that it is an utterly amazing film with really interesting visual choices, performances, and the third act is insane and beautiful. Now we come to my number 1 of the year, Roma. So, big surprise? Yes, no, probably not. Roma was everything I hoped it could be and more. Alfonso Cuarón's cinematography specifically is deeply kind of spellbinding. Ultra slow pans, long takes, all combined into this beautiful black and white picture of kind of his upbringing, I guess, but not centered on him, centered on a maid working for a wealthier family. Some of the long take sequences in this, 3 in particular, kind of, you get that same lump in your chest that you did on the first night seeing Gravity in the cinema. That was unmistakable, and it's utterly terrifying at times what you're seeing on screen and the anticipation of what's going to happen. Especially the last long take. That was some of the most stressful moments of my entire year, watching that sequence in the cinema. It was insanity. Now obviously it's on Netflix. If you can see it in the cinema, go see it in the cinema, because it is doing showings still around the place. but it's hard to explain. Alfonso did it again. He kind of created a true masterpiece that Roma is. I'm not afraid to say that. And if you like, if there's anything that you haven't seen this year, see this, because it's 100% worth it. Thanks very much for tuning in to my top 25 films of 2018. Hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to leave a like if you did. Let me know in the comments what your top 25 or top 10 of the year are, what you think of my choices, and what you thought of the films. Be sure to subscribe if you want to see more. I'll be doing more videos every week. Hit that bell button to be notified of new uploads as they become available. And as I said, I'm always open for a chat in the comments or on Twitter. Love chatting about film. Until next time, take care.